Well, I got a new camera. I'm shooting on my new camera. So, long story short, I haven't done a video in mad long. Long ass time. Well, here's a little update. I have a kid. Nah, you guys probably already know that. I look like shit right now because it's so fucking hot in my house. I'm trying to grow my hair out, which is working because look how long my hair is. It's like ridiculously long. I don't know what the fuck to say because I probably won't even post this, and if I do, I'll be very ashamed of myself. I actually wanted to do a story time. I talked about it and I was like, damn, I should do this story time thing. So maybe I should just do that right now. So here's my story time. So basically when I was younger, I used to love to get in cars with strangers. This is pre-Uber. I used to get in cars with strangers like all the time. That was like my thing. I don't know why I did it, but like as soon as a guy pulled over and was like, hey baby, I was like, I'm hopping in. It was really dumb. So yeah, obviously there's a couple stories about that I wanted to share. I got in a couple of cars where I had to like literally like jump out for my life. So I was 18, I had just moved to LA, and I was working at a store on Melrose called Japan LA, and I was living in Sherman Oaks with my grandpa and my great grandpa, so every day I had to commute from Melrose to Sherman Oaks, and it was like a pain in the ass. So one day after work, I'm walking up La Brea, and some guy pulls over and he's like, hey, Miranda, or like some random name, and I was like, no. He's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Then he comes around the block again. He's like, are you sure, like, your name's not Miranda? And I'm like, no. And he's like, oh, because you look like this girl who I did, like, a Roxy bathing suit campaign with. And I'm just like, I don't know, man, like, cool. And he's like, all right. Comes around the block again. He's like, you know what, like, would you like to model? Like, would you like to be a model? Like, come on, like, being a model is cool. And I was just like, no, not really. And he's like, well, I could take some pictures. I'm a photographer, blah, blah, blah. All this shit. Looking back now, I think I knew it was bullshit, but I was just like, okay, I don't know. Let's go for a ride, my friend. So I get in the car and he's like, let's go shoot some photos. I'm like, all right. So he like pulls over on this like side of a freeway overpass and like starts taking some pictures of me. So I'm like, and mind you, this is like 2007. All right. So he's like looking through the pictures. He's like, okay, I just sent the pictures through the internet, through my camera to my assistant. Then he like gets on this phone call, and I could like totally tell the phone call is fake. He's like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. We'll get him on the phone, blah, blah, blah. Like just like faking this like really intense business call, and he like looks at me, he's like, all right, so basically the owner of Honda wants you to like model for his new campaign. And I'm like, in my head, like I know cameras. I'm like, how is he gonna send a photo from his camera to fucking his assistant? That technology is just, then now it is. Now I'm filming on my phone right now, but yeah, back then that wasn't the technology. So I'm like, oh shit, this guy is fucking tripping. So he's just like, yeah, like the owner of Honda. I'm like, okay, that's like really vague, you know? He's like, yeah, they want to fly you out to China right now, and they'll give you like $50K to like fly to China right now, but we have to go take more pictures at my office. I'm like, fuck no. I'm like, you're fucking tripping. So then he starts getting mad at me, and he's just like, what do you mean no? And I was like, you're lying. And he's like, I'm not lying. He starts like getting like really intense. So I'm like starting to get freaked out because like I'm just in this guy's car while he's driving. I'm like, take me home. Like I gotta go. Like take me home. And he's like, God, what? Like come on. Like you're just being stupid. Like you don't want this. Like you want to be broke and poor. And I was like, bro, you're a liar, like, get me out of here. And I had a little pocket knife in my purse, and like while all this was going on, I started like put the pocket knife in my pocket because I was like I already knew I was doing some dumb shit and this guy was lying. So I pulled my knife out and I was like, take me the fuck home. I don't know why I just didn't jump out the car, but like I just moved to LA, I had no idea where I was. So I have him drop me off at the apartment building, and then he's just like, I'm gonna have a limo downstairs at like 9 a.m. If like you don't get in that limo, like I will never contact you again, like you're giving up like a dream. I'm like, alright, whatever, like fuck you, like get the fuck out of here, man, like peace, you know? So I got out the car, I'm just kind of like, wow, like that guy is out of his mind, what the fuck am I doing? Definitely did not go downstairs to see if there was a limo down there, because I honestly doubted it. Just like, forget about it, you know? I think like a week or two goes by and I'm chilling in the house and I hear the news on TV in the other room, and it's like, man, disguised as a photographer, rapes and sodomizes like 4 underage teenage girls as like posing as a photographer. And I was like, what the fuck? So I go look at it and it's like him, his red truck, it was him. And I was like, oh my fucking god, like I was in the car with this man who was like raping and sodomizing chicks, and like he was basically like doing the same exact like pitch he was doing to me, but like to some other girls, and being like, okay, we have to go to my hotel, which was an office. And then he like fucking violently raped them there. And I was like, yo, bro, like, that's crazy. I don't know. I mean, that was extremely stupid of me to get in the car with him, but I'm pretty smart because I could tell it was fake, and I got out of that situation. I mean, I knew the situation was stupid to begin with. I don't know why I like got in the car. So yeah, that was that getting in the car with a stranger story. This is another getting in a stranger's car gone wrong story. Some guy pulls over, right? Old ass man in some like extremely insane custom like European Porsche with like European license plate, like straight, just balled out, right? But it's really old, like World War II old, like old as shit old. So he pulls over and he's like, hey baby, like blah blah blah, you know, like you're beautiful. And I'm like, okay, look in the car, and this man has like 3 fingers on each hand, like really distinct. So rolling around with like driving with 3 fingers like this. But he was old as shit, so I was like, alright, I'll get in the car. Mind you, this is like after I already got in that first story. So I thought it was a great idea because he was old. I was like, I could beat his ass. That other guy was like extremely tall and scary. So I get in the car and he drops me off at Melrose, and he's like, oh, like here, take like $200, like go shopping, you know, and call me later. I'm like, hell yeah, like call you later. So I called him later, and like we go to meet up, and we're just driving around in his car, and he was explaining to me that he was like a sugar daddy, and like he paid for this girl's apartment and blah blah blah. And then we like drive past the high school. He was like, that's where she goes to school. I'm like, oh, okay, like pretty sweet gig having like a 80-year-old sugar daddy when you're 16 and your own apartment. That's pretty sick. I was like, this could work. I'm like, this guy's old. I don't even think his dick would work anyway. So we're just driving around chilling, and I told him I was a virgin. I was like, I'm a virgin, so we can't have sex, obviously. And he's like, oh, it's okay, like you can like, you know, do other stuff. And I was like, no, like you're really gross. Can you just like give me some money? And basically he like starts to hold my hand, and I'm like, okay. We'll hold hands with his 3 fingers, just like holding my finger like this, like a little baby clenching on, like this man's got me up in the mountains somewhere. And he like grabs my hand and like puts it over to his crotch, and this fool's got like a full chub. And I'm like, whoa, no thanks, you know, like, looking back on it now, I was like, man, I really should have just milked that, because that could have set me up good. But at the time, I was just like, nah, like, I can't touch your really old wee-wee, sir, like, sorry. So I'm like, fuck, I gotta get the fuck out of this car. I don't know where I am, so I'm like, freaked out. I'm like, can you please, like, just pull over? And he's like, why, what'd I do? I'm like, please, let me out of the car, let me out. So he lets me out of the car, and I was just in the middle of nowhere, and I ended up having to, like, call a taxi. Once again, like, pre-Uber days, like, $70 to get back to, like, where I was living. Just really stupid stuff. Another Los Angeles 18-year-old horror story. So I was working on Melrose still, and I needed a second job because I was trying to save up to move out of my place with my grandpa and my great-grandpa. So I get on Craigslist and I see a job as a maid. And I was like, okay, this is cool. I can do this job before I work on Melrose, because I think I started at 11. I can work as a maid from whatever, 5 a.m. to 11, get some extra cash. I'm like, yeah, I really want this job. He's like, okay, like, come down for this interview. I'm like, okay, yeah. So I come down for the interview, and it's like at a house that like these people are cleaning. And when I'm not even like over exaggerating, like I walk into this house, I'm wearing open-toed shoes. The house was crawling from the ceiling, the fucking carpet, every single thing was crawling with roaches. The house was like fucking alive with roaches. I've never in my life seen that many roaches in real life or on TV since then or before then. It was insane. This old lady whose house it was, just sitting on the couch. There's roaches like crawling up her dress, down her dress, in, out, like in her hair, on her body. And I was just like, oh my god. She's like, do you want to take a seat? And all I could think is like, I have to keep moving my feet and shaking my feet because I'm wearing like sandals in this house. And then I was just like, but I'm trying to like play it cool still at this point because I like still want this job. So I'm like, oh yeah, roaches, like gross, but whatever, you know, like I could totally clean this place. Gives me the job, start the next day. And I'm doing some jobs with these like people. Obviously, like he was hiring like people that he could underpay, if you know what I mean. And he was like really rude to all of us, really mean. I really didn't fit in with like this crew of like cleaning people and maids, but I was like, I don't know, I didn't really care at the time. I think I was getting like $12 an hour, and I was like, hell yeah, $12 an hour, like bread. I do some jobs, like some nasty jobs. I think like one of the worst jobs I did before everything went wrong was like some old man who like cut his hand on a piece of glass and also like shit himself and shit everywhere. So I'm like cleaning blood and shit, and I'm just like, okay, like not really into this. And so the guy was like, look, you know, I can give you some better jobs, pay you a little more, like $20 an hour or something, if you clean in your underwear. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll do that. So after like doing 4 days of like this regular cleaning, I start like the underwear cleaning. So I'm in like my underwear cleaning this guy, and the worst part is like I really had to clean. Like I was in my underwear like scrubbing this guy's tub and like his toilet, and I was like, while he's just watching, like, hey, have you ever seen an Emmy before? I had no idea who he was. He wasn't like, he was just somebody who got an Emmy doing something with background. But, you know, he's just like, have you ever seen an Emmy before? And I'm like, yeah. I was just like, yo, dude, like, I'm busy. I'm, like, cleaning your shit in my underwear. So, yeah, I did, like, 2 of those underwear jobs. And then the boss was like, I need to take some pictures of you so I can get you more jobs. Like, you can do waitressing at these parties in Hollywood in your underwear or whatever the fuck. So at this point, I'm kind of like, want to, but okay. You know, I'm just like trying to get this apartment. I'm just trying to get money. So he takes me to this hotel downtown, and I think we're going to clean the hotel. And we get to the hotel, we bring out like all the cleaning supply shit, you know? So I'm like, okay, me and him are gonna clean this place, or like maybe other people are already here, because we would meet up in different vans sometimes. So he's just like, we get in the hotel and he does like the most typical like weirdo shit. He's just like, oh, it's really hot in here, and like takes his shirt off. And I was like, whoa, like, and he's like, what? Chill out. Like, mind you, this guy's like a really fat, like hairy, like Armenian old guy, balding, like exactly what you picture. It's like sleazeball. He takes his shirt off. I'm like, whoa, whoa. He's like, what? Relax. Like, it's hot. Like, I just took my shirt off. Like, what's the big deal here? And I'm like, yeah. At the time, I'm like, yeah, you're right. What is the big deal? He's like, aren't you hot? Like, don't you want to take your clothes off? Nah, I'm good. He's like, come sit on the bed next to me. I'm like, oh, God, okay. So, sit on the bed, obviously, this guy just tries to, like, pounce on me. And I, like, slither away through his sweat body. Like, I was able to, like, slip out like a sardine or something. And I go for the door, and, you know, I go to unlock the door, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, he gets all, like, pissed at me. And I'm like, you're a fucking pervert, like, what the fuck? And he's like, you know what, no, like, you stay here, like, you clean this, he's like, clean this hotel room, and I'll come back to pick you up later. And I was like, nah, like, I want to leave now, like, I don't want to clean. And he's like, you know what, like, I'm leaving you here, like, find your own way home. I had worked for him for, like, 2 weeks at this point. I was like, hey, like, I need my money. And he's just like, I'm not paying you. I'm like, what, bro? Like, I need my money. Like, I literally did like, this is torturous. It was, like, very low-tier work here. Like, in my underwear, like, being sexually assaulted by you at a hotel, like, cleaning up piss and shit, and just, like, the worst. I need my money. He was just like, no. So I'm, like, keep calling him, keep texting him. He's, like, being a dick about it. And just being like, no, I'm not going to give you your money. And I was just like crying, because I was just like, I don't know what to do. I think after all of that, I literally just moved out of LA and moved back to the Bay, because I was just like, I literally moved to LA because like I was fucking up so bad in the Bay. Like, I had like hits on me, like I was not safe, like I had made extreme amounts of enemies, and I'll tell you those Bay Area stories later. So that's my story of strangers, cars, trying to get money in Los Angeles. There's a lot more stories. The story time is endless. The great thing about doing these story time vlogs is like I've never even did one, so I have a plethora of stories. So if you have a topic or something that you would want me to talk about, let me know. Once again, I don't even know if I'm going to put this video up, because I don't even know if it's going to look good. I don't even know what's going on. I'm totally confused. Why am I even doing a vlog? Why does anyone even care? Will this even look good? Do I even look good? I'm sweating my balls off.